Yay. Okay, I am going to share my screen. Hello, hello. Give me 1 second and then we'll get rolling. You guys don't know how passionate I am about talking about this topic. And so I was really excited. I'm like, I need to do a masterclass on this. And so I felt like it was a perfect opportunity to do it. I've been, thinking about different topics, and this one was like in my heart, I was like, I need to do this one. So, because a lot of women struggle with this, right? That we struggle with whether it's like body dysmorphia, body image, just like insecurities. There's so many things and so many factors of why that develops or why that happens. And we'll dive deep into that today. But before we get started, I just want to say I'm so grateful and thank you for all attending and being here and listening to the recording. I know a lot are getting the recording of this, so thank you so much. And just for just supporting me and also just being here to learn, because it's definitely not a topic a lot of women like to talk about and I honestly shy away from, or it's just very deep and deep rooted, and especially because it can be something you dealt with since at such a young age, right? Like elementary school, middle school, even just like the comments you received, and that can stick with you the rest of your life. So I know it can be a hard thing to talk about, and for you to just take that step to listen and to absorb the information and allow yourself to start this self-love journey is a great first step. So thank you. um, just an introduction before we get started. Again, this is building confidence from within. So talking about body image and building that confidence from within, inside out. And before I get started, I just want to share a little bit about me. So I am a certified personal trainer. I went to school, got my bachelor's of exercise science and minor in psychology. So I do in-person personal training, and then I also offer online coaching as well. And that's where I do more nutrition guidance, mindset coaching, and basically a little bit of everything. So health coaching, life coaching, just guiding you into living an optimal, healthy lifestyle. And yes, I love what I do. So a little bit about my story. So why I love talking about this is because I dealt with those same issues, right? So with body image, confidence during college, and I won't go really deep into my story, but just know that when I was in college, I dealt with those same things, not realizing at the time, right? Until you look back and you're like, oh my God, because you start to grow and develop into who you are and start finding that confidence from within as you go along on taking care of your health. So a lot of women start noticing that they put a lot into how they're looking when they start going to the gym or just start taking care of their nutrition, because usually that first initial goal is to, one, probably look better, right? They want to lose fat, they want to tone up. And so the goal starts being more aesthetic focused, and then they start developing, wow, it's actually helping me mentally. And that's what I experienced. Was I started to find a passion more for taking care of my body and mind, both like in the gym but also mentally, to be the best version that you can be. Because I definitely think it's a combination of both those things. So now what I do is I help people in that phase of their life where they may have a stall in their progress pain, they feel lost in this fitness space or overwhelmed, dealing with that low confidence, and they just want to get to that sustainable lifestyle where they feel confident, they feel strong, and both internally and externally. So a little bit about my story, but let's kind of go right into it. So I wanted to start off with a quote, just like I did if you attended my last masterclass on sleep. And this one, if you have pen and paper, I want you to write it down. I want you to put it in your notes on your phone. I want you just to allow yourself to absorb and find yourself to truly believe the statement, which is your weight and body will change, but your value and worth never will. Okay. We put so much worth into how we're looking, what the scale says, and how, like, the clothes we have and like all these external things, but really none of that matters. Like, really, when you think about when you're 85, 70, or however long you want to live, people are going to remember you for how you treated them and the type of person you are, right? Your energy, your smile, and the way you make them feel. And it's so true. So I want you to really absorb that and remember that your value and worth never will change. However, we got to accept that our body will, right? It's going to go through different phases, especially as a woman. Um, and then the second statement that I want you to remember is your beauty is a state of mind, not a state of your body. Okay, so really it does start from your mindset, which, if you don't know, that's kind of where everything starts, is whatever's happening, thoughts and patterns in your mind is going to start to develop um, externally. So starts up there first. So write those two down. Remember those. Those are the big takeaways I want you to remember. And then before we go more into specifically talking about body image, I'll be going over practical tips as well. So that way you can actually like have something to take away and be like, okay, I can actually take action on trying to get into this more positive state of mind towards my body. And then I'll also be going over different tools that I've used and my clients have used to help reframe their mindset. Because again, the beauty is a state of mind. So um, let's define body image first, though. And I had to like look this up. I'm like, I don't even know, right? So body image is this mental representation that you have and that we create for ourselves, right? Within yourself. Like it's again, thoughts, feelings, it's in your mind that you have about your body. And this can really range, right, of how you view your body from, like I was saying, at a young age, from whether it was a positive experience, negative experience. Like when someone says like, "Oh, I love your smile," like you're probably like really confident about your smile. But if someone like commented on, when you're young, like you have really big legs, right? Like that's gonna stick with you, and then you're always gonna have that like thought of like, I don't like my legs because someone commented. It's really, really sad how this develops, but again, we can change it. That's the empowering thing about this all. So again, can develop from different experiences, but also, like I was saying, it can show up in different times. So it can be positive, like your smile, negative about your legs or whatever, or a combination of both throughout how you view your body. Um, and again, it can what I was reading is like it can come from distortions from the attitudes of one's parents, right? Like how your mom, like if you remember your mom like talking about herself, do you remember like what she was saying, how she was viewing her body? That really sticks with you. And then and that's what's so cool, especially if you're a young woman right now and maybe you want to have kids, you can start working on this now. So that way when you do have kids, you can kind of share that positive experience with them and know that knowledge now compared to when you're, even if like you already have like say like a 2-year-old, you can still change and like show them how to appreciate their body. But again, it can develop very severely in some people, and maybe you've experienced this where it turns into body dysmorphic disorders where you like view your body as way bigger than it really is, or just dissatisfaction over just like an undetectable defect of your body. And that can become like a severe obsession, which I know a lot of women have that, like their belly fat or like their love handles or like this part right here, right? Like by your armpit. And like you kind of obsess over that part. Um, but we can change it. So let's kind of go into that. Um, I kind of already went over this. So yeah, influenced by different factors, but there's different types of way this can show up. So you can have an image of how you see your body, right? So like how you physically see yourself in the mirror, how you feel internally, and then the way you think about your body. And that can develop in how you behave because of that internal representation of how you're viewing your body, which is crazy, right? So it can develop in so many different ways, and you can have a positive experience of like how you feel, right? Like I feel really good, I feel energized throughout my day, but really you're thinking and seeing your body as like fat or just not satisfied. Like you're not loving, yeah, the love handles or whatnot. So can show up in different ways. And again, we're getting into, sorry, all these like sad things of how like the struggles and the challenges that come with this. And then we'll get into the more positive stuff of how we can change it. So the biggest one, right, is going to be society, the influences we have as a woman. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Go on social media, right? Like you see what's nice, the nice thing about social media, right, is we're seeing all these different bodies, which I think is helpful to realize that everybody is so different, right? So individual. And I'm going to talk about how you need to embrace that individuality that you have because we're all so, so unique. But again, influences, right? Like some you think like years ago, right? Like it was like you want to be skinny or you want, and then it was reversed and it was like, no, you want to have curves and then you want to have like a big butt. And no, now you want, you need to have muscle to like look hot and sexy and great. So it's always evolving. And that's what's leading us women to feel defeated and just sad because we can never fit the status quo and like what a ideal woman's physique should look like. And the other, and then social media, right? So like always have to stay up to date with the clothes and the makeup and skincare. We have all these factors working against us, but when you start to develop that internal representation, all this stuff starts to fade, if that makes sense, right? It starts to like not be so hyper fixated on those other things or what other people are looking like because you're so strong in who you are and your body. Um, Other challenges that start to develop, disordered eating. Again, this is something I struggled with, some of my clients as well. Really heavy under eating, like just not properly fueling their body because of yeah, wanting to be smaller than they are and thinking that will help them achieve that. Or over exercising to really, really get that physique that they want to get. And then it starts to lead into consistent negative self-talk. So all these things start like reflecting like what ones like really have you dealt with? Like what ones are like, is it all of them? Is there one particular that stands out to you? You're like, yeah, I really struggle with that negative self-talk. Just kind of reflect on that, pick, start thinking about what ones you were really challenging with. Um, and then the other one is like the belief that others will judge you based on how you look. And that leads into how you cannot be successful, valued, loved if you're not fitting this attractive look, this built look, this fit look. And then, so again, all these things are so, so hard to deal with, but noticing how that can transform into other areas of your life, right? When you view that negative image of your body, that's going to show up in other areas of your life of feeling like you're not successful, you're not worthy, and all those other things. Going into, oopsie, the next, so want to talk about social media, really heavy though. The biggest thing I want you to remember, and I know you probably heard this, but just so, so important, follow accounts that make you feel good, that make you feel inspired, motivated, connected, they're educational, they're allowing you to grow rather than feeling like, oh my gosh, like I'm comparing myself to her and I feel crappy, or they just aren't promoting the things like you believe and it makes you feel shitty. Unfollow them. Like you don't, like this is your social media. You can choose who you look at and see on your feed. And sometimes we lose sight of that. Like yes, we're on social media, but like then we feel drained after. Like yes, like social media can be very draining because it's so much information. But when you're following more accounts that make you happy and like laugh and feel good, you're gonna feel better about your outlook on social media, if that makes sense. So for myself, I took a day. I remember one day I like took a day, went through all my people I follow, and I was like, I don't even know who this is, like unfollow, like even just like kind of just clearing it out, right? And it helps so much. Like there was some, like even for myself, like I follow a lot of, fitness influencers and whatnot. And there's so many I was like, "Why am I even following this girl?" Like, I just don't feel like I can relate to her, just don't yeah, not vibing well. Then unfollow. I want you to do that exact same thing. Literally schedule it in your calendar on a whatever, Saturday, like if you're not doing much, choose a day, schedule it in, just clear out those accounts. Because social media is that highlight reel, right? Like you're not seeing their full reality. It's unrealistic. And I think it's just a great reminder, even though you may already know that, it's just a great reminder to know that there's so much they're struggling with that you're not even realizing. Yes, they have a great body, right? Maybe they like look really muscular, they look really good. And but look at the perspective of like there's so much more to their story than their body, just like with you, right? So they're dealing with a different struggle and that's just to like look at it in more of that perspective that their picture isn't their whole story. So let's go into the the practical things I want you to start doing, and that is cultivating self love. So, focusing on your positive qualities, your skills, your talents, all those things you bring into the world that you can really just appreciate for everything that you are. The hard part with this is that right you're like, well, that doesn't really I'm still like fixated on like my physical aspects. But actually when you like focus more on these qualities and start like remembering all these things that you've accomplished or done, you're going to start appreciating the physical aspect more because you'll be less fixated on that. You'll be more fixated on your job and like what skills you provide for that job, how you are to your friends and your family. And then looking at it physically, how can we appreciate and respect the body for what it can do for you? I always tell people like think of that think of the long-term game we're in, right? Like think of your life long term. We're always looking so short term, like day to day, but let's also look at like long term. How can I show appreciation for my body? Because there's gonna be years down the line that you're gonna wish you had the body you have now, and appreciate it rather than kind of wasting that energy on the negativity part. How you can do this in real time is actually just showing that compassion daily by doing things that bring you enjoyment and make you happy. So that way you're living your optimal life. You're doing things you love and enjoy and that allow you to bring out those positive qualities like happiness and love. Things like taking a walk, things like being with friends, whatever just allows you to really cultivate that self-love. The second part is reframing that negative self-talk. So we talked about one of the struggles being that consistent negative self-talk. This is the biggest thing I work on with my clients is reframing that those thoughts that you have. We do this two different ways. We do this by again having it be a more positive internal dialogue, so what's going on in your head, and then doing affirmations. So affirmations, we'll get into specific ones that I have used, and I'll also be sharing with you guys a a freebie with a huge document of like different self affirmations that I've used, and then journal prompts as well. So super stoked for you guys to have that and just go through that and choose ones that resonate with you. But reframing, we want to start just reframing our body as more of a neutral state of mind. This has helped me in different situations rather than looking at it like it's amazing. I love my body. Like we also want to look at it like I appreciate it. I love it, but I don't need to overthink it. So like stop labeling right now like in your internal dialogue. How can we like retrain our brain to think I'm not skinny, I'm not fat, I'm able to do the things I want to do. I'm capable. And these are some affirmations listed here that allow you to start just retraining that self-talk. And the reason why that's so beneficial is because every time you have a thought of like you see your body, you're like, oh my God, I look disgusting. Stop yourself and be like, no, like I'm doing the things like I want to do. I'm able to go to work. I'm able to walk. I'm able to do these things and start cultivating that in those moments where you may have that thought. Um, Next piece is embracing individuality. I touched a little bit on this, how everybody has a different body, and that's just important to remember. Your genetics, your environment, like all these things play a role in developing who you are. But when you're able to celebrate your own uniqueness in a non-physical way, you're gonna feel so you're just looking at it in such a different light. How you can kind of embrace that is by doing those self cultivating love activities. So, movement, walking outside, spending the time with just yourself, getting to know yourself better through journaling or through whatever that looks like for you, right? Some people like drawing, some people like just listening to music. Whatever it allows you to like just be with yourself and like allow you to be alone helps you feel more comfortable in who you are. Being social with friends and family, listening to music, like I said, any it could be anything. But I want you to think about creating that list of like what are my activities that make me who I am, like I feel most myself is what I should say. Like where you feel more in tune with yourself. For some it's like hiking, like I was saying, listen to music. For me it's movement, it's being outside, spending time in nature. That allows me to just really be who I am and like get to know myself better. So write those activities down. That's another thing is like thinking of those. And then journaling. So if you are the type of person where like, I have heard of journaling, I've tried it, doesn't work. That's okay. Like there's so many different ways to actually journal. But I want you to realize like when are you asking yourself these questions? Like what challenges have you faced when it comes to body image? You probably have never thought and like really reflect on that before. So that's why it's so crucial because it allows you to almost almost like one get to know yourself really really individually, but also find things you'd normally want before in your inner child, like trauma or things that you have dealt with in the past that you're facing to this day still and holding on to. Because we don't really realize how much we still hold on to. So these are two questions here. What challenges you face? What have you tried that either has or hasn't helped you on a bad body image day? So like days when you just don't feel good and just feel like blah. On those days, for me, like what has helped me is just getting comfortable, like doing things that make me feel comfortable. And that could be like the clothes I'm wearing. Um, Again, listening to my favorite music, just spending time in the space that allows me to feel good, going back to those activities. So those are two big questions that allows you to kind of differentiate like the challenges, struggles, and then what you've tried that has or hasn't helped. So like what probably hasn't helped is trying to fit in the jeans that you know are too tight. Just order a new pair of jeans. Like who cares what size they are? Like really who cares? No one really knows. And no one's going to remember 20 years from now. So just get, a new pair of pants that you feel confident in. Again, and journaling like this could be like I'm doing now. I'm like talking it out. You can do that. Like you can maybe record a voice note of you just talking and then listening back or writing in your notes or actually pen and paper or like whatever like works best. I had a client that used notes on her phone, just like literally little notes, like jotting little stuff down, like challenges. Okay, like I like undereat or I feel like I'm on social media too much, whatever it is, like just writing little notes. It doesn't need full sentences. So that way it like saves time and like it's just for you, right? So there's no right or wrong way. And I want you to know that it's not just what you consider it to be, where it's like pen and paper, full sentences, you write the date, like really professional that, type A I am and most women are. It can be very scribbly and you can throw it away, right? It's just the act and practice of asking yourself those questions. And then appreciation. So once you dial those two questions down, then we go into appreciation. So allowing yourself to ask yourself what you really appreciate about your body, that what does it allow you to do on a daily basis, or like even big trips that you've been on, all those things that you just appreciate. Like, for example, like your teeth for eating, like allowing yourself to chew, or like your eyes for seeing really far away and being able to see the beautiful colors outside, or seeing like your friends. Um, just the physical act of being able to get out of bed and like walk and all these things that we just kind of lose sight of and take for granted. And then again, I guess I already said this, but like, what does it do for you on a daily basis? And then this last question, 3 amazing experiences you've had with your body. This is such a cool way to reflect on like the trips you've been on or the hikes you've done, or yeah, like just going to like a beach and like being able to like and soak that up. Like your body's with you throughout this whole life experience. So it's just write down like 3 that you're most grateful for. The next piece is visualization. And I'm going through this very quickly, but just so again, you'll get more journal prompts like these on documents, so you don't need to like remember every single one of them. Visualization is really, really cool. It's really, really powerful. Visualization can literally be picturing yourself in like how you want to view your body, not in a way that's actually in a different body, if that makes sense, right? Like sometimes like we'll look at like we'll visualize and we'll see ourselves like, yeah, maybe like the scale says a certain weight, or like my shoulders are really like toned or whatever. But maybe just view your body as like how it looks now and the feeling you want to feel about it. So the feelings, the thoughts you want to have. And then the next step is writing, like listing out or at least evaluating the action steps that you can take on a daily basis, weekly basis, even just today, tonight, to feel that way. And that could just be, whether it's like taking a bath, or it's asking yourself these questions, or it's getting yourself in those comfortable clothes, or it's um taking a walk, like doing things that allow you to view your body and those feelings you want to feel. Like how can you already cultivate that now? And when you're taking those steps now, it's a process, right? So like it's going to take time. I always say like the confidence you're striving for is in this process. Like how cool is that? Like it's not really this end goal that we think it is. Like when you think of confidence, you're like, oh, like I'm just gonna be like confident all the time. Like it's a process ever evolving. And it's actually in this process, like on a health and fitness journey, when you're like committing to working out, committing to cooking your own meals, drinking water, getting adequate sleep. It's in that process that you're building that self-love, because you're committing to taking care of your health, taking care of your body, and allowing yourself to feel those good feelings that come from that process. The third question is, what are your goals for cultivating self-compassion towards your body that you will continue to work on? So what what do you want to continue, like as you're working through this process, what are like some specific goals you can have to still cultivate that self-compassion? Is it, is it, and I'll get into what that may look like. It could be like boundaries with yourself, with others, with work. It could be it's like all these things that you're committing to. If you see that, like there's a lot of consistency with that in this process. So it's not just like the physical, right? It's like how it rolls over, like the things you're doing, the promises you're keeping, that rolls over into that self-compassion, self-confidence. Okay, let's stop and take a moment to go into, again, why we want to cultivate this. There's so much connection between the self-confidence piece and body image, right? Like we already are talking about this, but just like I was saying before, it affects every aspect of your life. So like when you learn to accept and appreciate your body, you're more likely to feel better, one, but also feel more confident in just how you appear around your friends and work and just in daily life and the abilities that you're doing. You're able to say yes to more of those uncomfortable situations, say yes to doing the hard things that you don't want to do. Like if it's, giving a presentation at work or it's, going on that hike that you know is going to be hard, but you feel more confident in just your ability to do these things, which is leading to more that positive feedback loop of just reassurance and better self-esteem overall. It's so cool. It's really, really so cool. That's why, like, it's not just body image, right? It's everything else in your life that is can be affected from it, that can transform tremendously. And then again, going back to the self-talk, changing that narrative, understanding that you are human. That's why social media is like when you're looking at the perspective of like we all deal with these things. Like imposter syndrome, which if you know what that is, it's like when you think you're like a fraud. Everyone struggles with that. Like in some part of their life or still do. Even like millionaires, even like successful influencers, self-doubt, body dysmorphia, they all struggle with these things. I think more women are becoming more vocal and being honest on social media and sharing those things, like the struggles with like just, if you've seen those pictures where like a woman before they're like in their cycle and like the different phases, and then like when they're on their period and they're a little bloated, right? And that's awesome to see that more women are being honest and sharing those different parts because your body does change tremendously on your cycle every week, week to week. And so just understanding that everyone struggles with this. You do not need to let any of that define you. And again, I think it's normal. That's why it's almost like accepting those feelings and not looking at it like almost fighting it, like fighting those feelings, like accept it and be like, okay, I know I'm feeling crappy about the way my body is right now, but I can change the story that I'm telling myself and start working on taking action to feel better in my body, right? Like nutrition and like exercise and sleep, all these healthy habits that we know will make an impact on how our body looks and feels. um, but yeah, so keep going, keep allowing yourself to experience this process because it is helping you grow, rather than fighting against it. Okay, practical tips. These are the things that actually will allow you to cultivate that self compassion more specifically. So, there's one big thing, and I actually learned this from someone else. I don't remember actually who it was, but standing tall and owning your posture, like owning your position, owning where you are. This woman, she like would get up in the morning, reach up overhead. Like if you ever heard of like Superwoman or I don't know what it's called, but you literally reach up, smile, and like be grateful for just the space that you're in. Doing that every morning allows you to just feel that serotonin boost, like dopamine, like you're like smiling, you're appreciating who you are. That's a big thing you can start doing. Otherwise, just like in just your daily life, right? Like we know what's good posture and what isn't really great. But in those moments where you may feel like not great in your body, allow yourself to just become more aware of how your posture is. Um, like visualize it, right? When you're doing that visualization, view your body and like good form and like good position, and you'll start cultivating that and start doing that. It's the same thing when I'm working with a client in gym, right? Like they start becoming more aware of like, oh, like their technique, and then that correlates to them being more aware of how they're walking and how they're sitting at their desk. So same idea. Um, and then maintaining eye contact, right? That's a huge thing. That's going to help build your confidence, just in daily life when you're talking to someone. Sound like I'm like giving interview tips. Maintain eye contact, hard handshake. No, but seriously, like eye contact will be beneficial for you as well. And then smile, like I said, when you wake up, smile at yourself in the mirror, reach up overhead, like say I'm grateful, or whatever word like resonates with you, or maybe just in your head, right? You don't need to say it out loud. You have roommates. And then dressing for success. So again, choose clothes. Like go through your closet. Get rid of those clothes that like you're like, I haven't worn this in like 4 years, but like I still want to try and fit in it. Like I'm still trying to lose that 20 pounds. Honestly, like let's if that's motivating you, for sure, like keep it in there. But if it's causing more like shame and just like don't feel great, then get rid of it. Like let's dress for success. Let's choose clothes that you're comfortable in, and that because there's so much value in like when you look good, you feel good. And like the clothes you're wearing make a big impact on that. Like when you're going to the gym, if you're in a cute outfit or on a walk, you're gonna be more apt to do it and like feel good. Reframe how you view yourself. We're gonna talk about that. Um, and then choose an affirmation that resonates and make you feel empowered. Again, there's so many affirmations you can choose from, but we want to choose one that you like hear or see and you're like, that makes me feel good. Like I want to trust and believe that statement. It's going to be uncomfortable in the beginning. That's normal. It should feel weird. It's normal to feel that way. And I felt that way too when I started doing it. But then you'll start noticing it's like it could be a habit, or it's just something like you're allowing yourself to retrain your brain. Do more challenging activities. That also is a big thing to allow you to, again, build that confidence. Again, going back to the process and the journey, it's in this process of doing challenging things, getting strong, and like, cooking your own meals, like all these things that are hard and take effort are going to build that confidence. Other things are going to be incorporating self-care so into your routine. So things like those activities we listed off in the morning, midday, evening. Literally, people always focus on like morning, evening routine. You have a set routine. Everyone's routine is different and it can vary, but I think it's important to still have an aspect that is focused on like consistency and allows you to have some solid habit that is focused on yourself. So that could be midday, right? Like maybe like morning, evening can vary, you're traveling or whatnot, but maybe it's that midday, like you're always just able to like get outside and just be in fresh air. Or morning, maybe you're able to always just allow yourself to smile in the mirror and say an affirmation. Like it can be one simple thing like that that's going to allow you to, yeah, start developing that self-care. And then setting boundaries. So this could be with screen time, this can be with people, it can be with yourself. One, setting boundaries with screen time is definitely going to probably be beneficial, right? We know for sleep and all those other things, but also for less time on social media, right? When you have less time. So I always share this, right? So if you're someone like this, if you wake up in the morning and you look at your phone and maybe you go on social media right away, would you ever allow 100 people in your room and first thing in the morning? No. That's basically what you're doing when you're going on social media, right? When you're looking at all those accounts and like scrolling through, like you're basically absorbing all of that, and it's overwhelming, right? That's why at the end of the day it can feel very exhausting. Um, so yeah, allow yourself to have that boundary with screen time, also people and yourself, things that just you're able to keep those promises you set for yourself. And that allows you to build trust. It allows you to build confidence, which in return helps you feel more positive in the body that you're in. Connecting with nature, we talked about. And then this one I love so much. It's just romanticizing your daily life. So what I mean by that is kind of that self-care aspect. So like if you love, because we get so stuck in the mundane, right? Like every day maybe looks the same. Maybe you have the same like 8 to 5 job or similar Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, through Friday, like you have the same kind of schedule. It can just feel, you know, eh, right? Like, but when we add excitement, when we add enjoyment into each day, it's going to feel so much better. And that could be like going to a coffee shop for like a meeting. Maybe it could be going to, I mean, not even just going anywhere, but it could be, making your favorite cup of tea at night. Maybe it's like having your favorite treat at night. Maybe it's just like allowing yourself to enjoy this process and start, like, why can't you start being successful and confident now, right? Rather than waiting for like that body fat to go away, right? Like you can start in cultivating those aspects you're wanting for your future self and in your daily life now in little ways, right? In little ways. And then the last piece is just practicing gratitude. So going back to that appreciation of your body, when you're practicing gratitude daily, that's going to help boost your serotonin, your dopamine. It recircuits your brain. And that's what all of this is about, is basically creating those new neurons to change your story and change the way you've been living, which is so cool. Like we can do that, right? Like so much science behind this. And it's like, why aren't we more taking advantage of all these things that can change your brain? And so these are just a handful of those practical tips that are going to be great to implement. And then going back to self-affirmations. So I already talked about this, but I want to talk about why, well, I allowed you to recognize, like, it's allowing you to feel more empowered, but how to actually, like, what does this even mean, right? Like, yes, you have these statements, but how can it be incorporated? Like I was mentioning before, like first thing in the morning, I think it's always the best just because it's before your day even starts. In the car, like on your way to work, like saying them in your head, or it's you could write it down. You don't need to say it. Again, there's no right or wrong. But when you're allowing yourself to be in this uncomfortable state of saying these things, it will in turn help you and allow you to grow, even if it's for a short, like even if it's not like right, like you don't need to say these forever, right? But like just for this process of building this self-trust, this self-love and compassion, choosing the statements that you resonate with are going to be so helpful. For me, it was so uncomfortable, but I started seeing the benefit. Like the more I did it, I've been, doing them for like, oh gosh, like 3 or 4 years now, and I can circle through different ones and what resonates with me day to day, but I usually have the same system because like I truly see how much it makes me feel after I say them and I believe them and I trust them. And that's where you can get into that state. If it's uncomfortable right now, that's okay. But then when the more you say it, the more it's gonna be uncomfortable. So allow yourself to kind of have that phase. Again, it doesn't need to be years like I do, but like it could be just a month or like a few weeks of practicing saying these things to yourself or even in your head. Doesn't need to be out loud. My body's healthy, my mind is one of a kind, my love is pure, I'm beautiful, I'm loved, I'm strong, I accept my body today and always. And maybe it's just a post-it note, right? Like some clients will have a post-it note on their desk or like a background on their phone, just somewhere where it's absorbing, right? Like it's more about like allowing yourself to see it, either see it, hear it, or say it, are all gonna go into your unconscious and your conscious mind. Because we like everything around us impacts us, right? And when you're putting more of these positive things in your state of mind, the more in return it's going to help. So those are my top ones that I like for self-affirmations. Um, Again, there's so many, and I am so excited to share. I'm gonna send the recording and all this at the end here, so you guys can have those to use, the self-affirmations, the journal prompts, and really dive deep into those, which I'm so excited for you to have. Um, but yeah, I think just to kind of like recap, the biggest thing I want you to remember is those two statements I already stated in the beginning. I'm gonna go back to them, and that is do do do. Maybe you already remember. And that's gonna be your weight and body will change, but your value and worth never will. It kind of honestly like it's very frustrating to see how much our society and how much women do struggle with this. I was reading too, like there's 85% of women have or are considering a minimally invasive cosmetic procedure or cosmetic procedure in general. 85%. Like that's crazy. And that's just because of how much we put so much focus on how we're looking, makeup and clothes and shoes. Um and again, it's that balance, right? Like we clothes make us feel good. We like, shopping and like shoes, but I challenge you to look at the perspective of how much again does that matter? And if it's allowing like if it makes you feel good, then by all means. But is there more an internal struggle going on? And will that external thing help fix that? Probably not, right? You're still going to deal with those thoughts and those patterns that you've developed for months, for weeks, for years, whatever, however long it's been. And so, like, for example, right, like a lot of girls, right, get Botox or things like that. Nothing wrong with that. But I always challenge, like, look at the perspective of, yeah, like what are you really struggling with? Is there other things that you've dealt with that you're trying to cover up? Um, and that's where for me it was hard, right? Like I had to learn how I was viewing my body when I was under eating and all that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm putting so much value into like how I'm looking. And I'm like, but really it's just I don't have confidence in who I am. So how how you build that confidence is through those practical tips I shared, and that's going to help view your body in a more positive light. I hope this kind of all makes sense and like wraps up, um, because it's in this process of your journey throughout life and on your health journey, fitness journey, is it's in that journey where you're building that confidence. And I'll have clients attest to that. I'll have clients come to me very not happy with how their body's looking, mentally just not feeling good. And then when they start building these healthy habits, they start viewing themselves differently. They start trusting the body that they're in. They start trust that's the biggest thing, like trusting who you are and keeping your word to yourself, setting those boundaries are all going to help you cultivate that confidence, cultivate the self-love. But it's hard, right? Like I know all this like I can say this this whole class, but like it does take time. It does take work. It is a journey to like work through this. But I hope these little steps, these little tips will be helpful for you. Um, I'm so happy to dive deeper if you're like, want to talk more one-on-one on this topic. I'm so happy to chat about it. And like if you have questions or just want to bounce ideas off of each other, I would love to just like give my tips or tricks that could be beneficial for you if you have a specific struggle that you're dealing with. Whether it's like body, mentally, would love to chat because it's definitely something I love talking about. But to kind of wrap it up, I do want to have some goals for you, some little action items so that way, again, you're able to actually put these things in practice right away. And that is choosing one journal prompt and one self affirmation to work on and the affirmation to say to yourself daily in the morning. Again, give yourself a week. That's all I ask. Like, allow yourself to just get a week of practicing one statement, either like on your phone. Again, there's no right or wrong. Say it to yourself. Maybe just write it down. Put it somewhere you can see it, or you say it out loud, say it in your head. I don't really care the method or technique you're using, as long as you're choosing one that you resonate with. And then a journal prompt, one that I'll send over that you can reflect on and work on. And then I'd love to hear like what takeaway you had. Like if you did do a journal prompt, I would love to hear what one you chose, if it resonated with you, if it helped you kind of work through something. Would love to know. But those are the big two little goals I have. And then lastly, um, so I had to do this, right? Like resources for my masterclass. And I was like, well, really, the resources are gonna be the ones that you guys feel are you feel good, like feel energized, feel inspired, feel educated. So choose the other resources to help you through this process that are those things. One of the ones though that I did find was Food Psych podcast. So if you listen to podcasts, um, this one is this one is from um, she's a registered dietitian, but she talks about like disordered eating, intuitive eating, like helping people with different beliefs through their wellness journey. So definitely check it out. I'm going to listen more to that. And yeah, definitely recommend checking her out. If you have, put in the chat anything. So I want you guys to put in the chat the most beautiful quality that you believe about yourself. Okay. I want you to put one quality in there, hype each other up. Let's kind of hear one thing. And then for if you're hearing back this recording, I want you to think of your quality. Okay. Friendliness, you're kind, you're hardworking, determined, ambitious. Think about that, write it down, reflect on it. And that's what I want to leave you with. So if you want to work with me or have questions or again, I would love to hear any takeaways. Would love to chat with you. My Instagram is Sarah with an HTM Wellness on Instagram. Otherwise, my email is sarahmartinfitness@gmail.com. And if you are serious about actually making a change on your health and fitness journey, really want to work on this body image stuff, really want to work on all these things, I am doing a 20% discount on my 3-month coaching. So that is you can DM me self-love and you'll get the 20% discounted rate for my 3-month coaching. So if you're listening to the recording or you attended live, you'll get that discount. So send that over if you're interested. Otherwise, I am so grateful that you are here and that you attended. I hope this was helpful. And again, I would love to hear what your biggest takeaway was or what you would like to chat more about. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll plan to do another masterclass very, very soon. If you have any topics you want to hear more about in the health and wellness space, I would love to know. Throw out some ideas, but plan to do one before or in summer for sure. So, yay!